Tripping the Void with your host, SARAPHINE HURLEY. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go.
Good afternoon and good twilight to all of those tripping the void with me here. It's SARAPHINE HURLEY, and it's the Spookathon time today. So, and we are a live show, as you can see. I did promise that I would do more video, so I'm sorry about the video quality. My cam is from probably about 1999. But we're here, and I'm thankful for Katie and Daryl. Katie and Daryl are doing such an awesome job, and very thankful for them, and as are, I'm sure, most of the hosts on LNM Radio. So, yeah, and also, if you haven't been to the chat room as well, that our chat room is free this weekend for Spookathon weekend. So, if you haven't checked out our chat app, please do go and check it out. It's really cool and super safe. So, lnm.com to go and check all of that. And yeah, and our call-in number for our vampire show today. So we're talking about vampire culture. We're talking about vampire stories. So we're basically tripping the infinite Inquisition in the void today. So for all of my other ladies and gentlemen of LNM Radio Network that would like to join us today, I can feel free to call in and join us, or tell us about your stories and things like that as well. So we're ready to go. I have Laura Lee Podfin here from Angel Rock, who's normally with me anyway, right? We're kind of connected at the hip right now.
We
and
are.
As well as Katie and, well, Katie Neely. Well, Katie, which she's probably wanting to stay quiet. But you know what? If she wants to talk about vampires, she can talk about vampires too. So, you know, because just a big mixed bag today. It's the Spookathon, and we're going to have fun with it, as everybody should be having fun with it. So, vampires. Yeah. So, way back in history, there have been several accounts of vampire or vampiristic behaviors. All these spook stories. We've got cultural acts of people living vampires. We've got vampire cults. We've got vampire killers. We've got vampire legends. Vampire everything, basically.
Twilight vampires.
Oh,
I knew
yes.
I was going to get you. I knew it.
I know. Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes. Have I watched Twilight? Yeah, I've watched Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
Am I a fan?
Nope, I already know that. I had to say it.
But I had to, because it takes place in my stomping grounds area, kind of.
It
I see it,
does.
kind of. But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how you can take a high school romance type movie. It's like, remember back in the day, for those of us who are over the age of 28, you know, the John Hughes Rite Passage movies where, you know, it was like really like high school, and you know, the boy, you know, the boy falls for the girl that he can't get with, or the girl falls in love with the boy that's, you know, not in her social class. Yeah, and they all kind of make sense. But then you get vampire movies that are high school related, and I don't know if they're just cashing in on kind of like the Harry Potter / creepypasta thing, or I don't know really where that idea comes from, but more power to you. I mean, I'm not a hater.
I do.
You do?
I do.
All right. So educate.
Okay, so the lady that wrote Twilight was a fan fiction fan, and she was a big fan of, I believe, oh, wait, no, I'm getting that mixed up. Sorry, mixing that up with another one. No, I do know that she's always been a fan of vampires. It's Stephanie Meyer. I was thinking
Mhm.
of the completely different thing because she was involved with fan fiction with 50 Shades of Grey. And she
Mhm.
based her story starting on Twilight. That's where I got it mixed up. But with Stephanie Meyer's, yeah, she always been enthralled with vampires. When you watch the movies, you see a lot of Muse, the band Muse, one
Mhm.
of her favorite bands, and she decided that she needed to write a teen romance. I believe she had a dream about this because she's also written books about ETs too.
Mm.
So she doesn't claim to have any psychic gifts or anything, but as I remember, this is quite a while back, I remember too. Gosh, when the books came out, how long ago was that? I believe this started with a dream with her, if I'm not mistaken, when I read her bio.
Mhm.
And her original plan was to write the whole 4 books. And then she started to write the books again from Edward's perspective, the vampire. But somebody hacked her, so she released the book for sale. It's for free. You can find it on the internet still. I think it's called Midnight Sun or something.
Not
So-
Midnight Cowboy.
Not Midnight Cowboy. No. And this is where this came from. She's always enthralled with vampires and wanted a good story, and that's where she went with the saga.
Mm-hmm. But it would have been more interesting if it was an Edward Cullen Christian Grey kind of thing.
Yes, it would have. Well, that's where 50 Shades of Grey came from. I was getting them mixed up. She was the one that was a fan fiction writer. Sorry, oops, dropped the phone there, guys. Sorry about that. She was a fan fiction writer, and she was in love with Twilight and wanted to write an adult version of a Twilight movie. I don't know where they even crossed, but that's where she says she came up with the idea. I think her name is E.B., and I forget what her last name is, White or something, that wrote 50 Shades.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
I'm not a hater for her either. It's just another poorly written book, but it took off like wildfire. I mean, her PR people must have been fantastic once somebody picked her up. And oh my gosh, I mean, we've already been over that, but it could have been so much more interesting. And then,
Oh, yeah.
like if Edward Cullen had a fetish for, I don't know, tying people up in a separate room, and then I don't know.
Yeah. Let's
That
just
would
have
have
to write
made
our
it
own
more
version.
interesting. I know,
That's to
right?
write our own version.
Twisted, a little twisted vampiric BDSM thing.
With some truth.
Twist it. And it's like, we'll just change the names to conceal the not so innocent.
Yeah. Put some spectrophilia in there.
Some spectrophilia. Or feel some specters, one or the other.
Yeah.
But some of you do know, but for those of you that don't know, this is the weekend of not only the Anne Rice Ball, but the Bloodlust Ball in New Orleans for a lot of people into vampire culture. Some of us who belong to vampire covens all get together, and it's kind of like a big reunion party kind of thing, usually, kind of thing. And it's fancy dress. You can actually Google it. The pictures are phenomenal. The fancy dress. I mean, think of my mask in a dress form. It's like I was going to go all out, but I wouldn't have been able to fit in my chair.
Aww.
The hoop skirt and everything. But I'm like, nah. But because of my fever, I've got like 3 shirts on. So that's all right. It's good.
So it's called the blood. What's it called? The what ball?
Every year the theme of the ball changes, and this year it's the Bloodlust Ball.
Bloodlust.
And it's actually based on gluttony, greed, all of the deadly sins.
Okay.
And so the levels of tickets that you could get were kind of based on that.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Mine were gluttony tickets, so that I could get into most of the parties. So it kind of the different levels allow you into certain tiers and stuff. And I'm just so bummed that I don't get to go.
So with the different tiers, so they have like better entertainment or better, what was different about it?
It's not that it's better entertainment. It's the fact that you get to go into certain salons, VIP.
Got it.
type situations. If you get a regular ticket, you get to attend the ball, but there's certain areas that would be off limits to you if you had only up to a certain point of ticket. Now, it's just easier because of the people that are friends of mine, that's so that we can all talk and go into different areas to all kind of have the same level of ticket. That just makes more sense.
Yeah, so you guys can be together, yeah.
So, but we may not all get to sit together on a plane or anything like that, but at least we'll be able to hang out at the ball together and stuff. But that happens every year. It's been happening for years now. Maven Lore, and also between the Court of New Orleans and the Court of Dallas. I think it's Dallas, Texas, and Maven could kick me in the face if I'm wrong. But I know that they've kind of gotten together to get this ball together, and from the pictures I've seen so far, I'm totally like lime green jelly.
Aww. I'm sorry you couldn't go.
But, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just going to help promote it. And if I can't go, that doesn't mean other people can't go. And, but my fangirlship for vampires started when I was little. And kind of went up from there. But I've been watching, like, the Hammer movies. Like, you remember Christopher Lee as Dracula? That was the first Dracula that I saw. And then Ben Cross was Dracula for a little while.
It wasn't a good series in the 60s, but I remember when I lived with my best friend, Friday night was red wine night, and everybody knew, do not interrupt us because Dark Shadows was on. But it was with the guy Mike Horton from Days of Our Lives. That was why we just thought he was hot. The story wasn't that great.
Not Jonathan Frid.
Was that?
Not Jonathan Frid?
No. It wasn't the
Barnabas
60s.
I like the old school Barnabas Collins one, because I've even seen that one, and I find that the level of drama, the costumes, the storylines, I mean, it gets to a point like most series do where they jump the shark a little bit and it kind of gets a little bit too crazy. But for the most part, Dark Shadows was actually a very good serial. For those of you that were actually able to see it, and I'm not old enough to have seen it on the television. It was actually in syndication for a little while, and I grew up, there was Night Flight. I was a little kid, but I stayed up late so I could sneak and watch Night Flight when we actually were at somebody's house who had cable. Or Groovy Movies, which was by Captain USA and his pal Lefty. For those of you who remember Captain USA, he used to play schlocky 80s slasher movies, but a lot of them were vampire movies. And you have from the borderlining on the cheese ball to the more serious type ones like Nosferatu, which is always going to be one of my favorites because for artistic reasons and just general history reasons. Have you seen the original Nosferatu?
No, I haven't. No. What do you think of the Underworld series?
Underworld with Kate Beckinsale? Oh, it's fun. It's fun. I love her outfit. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I know. Oh.
But yes, I'm not like 5'1" and 2 pounds.
Petite.
So.
And petite, yes.
She's so teeny. But watching that and the war between the werewolves and the vampires and all of that, and it's funny how that's kind of been a lot of a leading kind of theme throughout a lot of the vampire films. When you have an like the vampires and the werewolves, or like in the second film, they talk about how the werewolves used to be guardians back in the day of the vampires. And I've actually seen something in historical text having to do with that, but they're not like werewolves. They're more like a shape-shifting kind of between like a wolf or a really large dog, like a devil dog or a, dog man kind of thing. Not really like a true werewolf kind of thing.
So I have a question for you then. So how far back in history do you know that the vampire culture or I believe there were real vampires, like real, not based on movies, but I believe myself, I've actually had visions. But I don't know how far back. Like, I know it's hundreds of years back, but
there's actually accounts that go clear back to written word of let's say beings. I'm not going to say monsters because that's pretty derivative, because it just depends on what your version of monster really is, but depends on what you think is, I guess. But
some people might think Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, right? It's the monster.
I know. But I've seen Egyptian texts, I've seen Japanese, I've seen Chinese, I've seen lots of stuff that it's actually proven. And like I said, if dragons, zombies, vampires, and then we come up with mummy curses and things like that, where you actually have, yes, I'm kind of broadening the spectrum a little here, aside from vampires, but you have all of these things. And it's like, if you can't have more than a couple of occurrences and have it not be true in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that, oh, yes, vampires can, apparate and transport themselves into other places and do this and that. I've seen some pretty fantastic stuff, though, in my time. But
really?
Yeah. But it's also, I know people who don't claim to be from any kind of vampire, whatever, that do some also pretty fantastic stuff. So you don't actually have to be a vampire person to do certain kinds of things. So as far as it going back, but then you have the commercialization of vampirism, which actually goes to 1847 with Varney the Vampire, which was kind of a stage play kind of thing. And then it became kind of a little leaflet kind of book that was passed around. And that was Lord Ruthven that came up with that. And I believe that was a pen name for, and somebody can correct me if I'm incorrect. But then we go into the more popular story of Dracula by Bram Stoker, which was in 1897-ish. In the first.
So how does somebody know if they're a vampire or have descended, say, from the vampirical line? Like, who was the first? Do you know if there was a first, like an alpha or?
Well, a lot of people have different thought processes on who actually is or what is a vampire. That's one of the first things that you have to identify with. And that's also a broad spectrum. It's like, just because you're this or that doesn't exactly make you a vampire, but in other places it does. It's like in some courts, that's where I'm from breaks down into some courts, some things are acceptable, some things are not acceptable. But like people who are, let's say, who associate themselves with being light sensitive, that's not always. I was actually born light sensitive, and then became more light sensitive due to surgery. So it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm a vampire, I can't deal with light. I have to wear my sunglasses because I'm just that cool. But yeah, but there's lots of things like actual vampires, like when you go into back into the late 1800s, early 1900s, where people were talking about the tuberculosis outbreak, and people were saying, like the Mercy vampire in Rhode Island, or the case of where that went on for a little while, and they were saying that what made them vampires is that they were bitten by another vampire, they got sick, they died and rose from the grave, and those things made them a vampire. Like being a zombie, all you have to do is be bitten by another zombie and you die and become a zombie, I guess.
Right.
According to lore. But but according to, George Romero, it can be done by trioxin through military experiments, and you can
never know.
Rain down acid rain, and all of a sudden all of the dead are coming back to life and looking for brains.
You never know. Well, I actually was listening to Michael Vera today, and when he was starting out his show, and it was really interesting that he mentioned this. It's sort of an insect, but lots of insects, feed on our blood, but especially mosquitoes. But there's actually, you've probably seen it. It looks like a little bit larger mosquito, but it has a syringe for its proboscis or nose, and then the body has a little cartridge to fill up with anything. Like, that scares me. That really scares me because, I'm guessing you guys probably get seasons with mosquitoes. We've got mosquito season so bad you can't even see. Like, how do you know what's bit you?
Exactly. And it should be the state bird here, the mosquito.
Us too. Yeah.
And because of the fact that Southwest Florida is a place that has a lot of places that are, let's say, our nature preserves, and there's a lot of animals that reside here seasonally to all of the time that are on the endangered species list. And so we thought that we would say, a lot of us say that, especially on Sanibel Island and Marco Island, that they believe, because they don't spray for mosquitoes, because we have helicopters and smaller aircraft that go around spraying for mosquitoes because mosquitoes carry disease. And so we think that a lot of us say that they don't spray anymore because mosquitoes are sacred and that they're dying out. I think that really mosquitoes are somehow being hybrid by maybe government officials, because around here I've seen mosquitoes that have surprised me. Like, I've seen mosquitoes that I have to be like 3 inches.
Oh yeah, up here too.
That's freaking big. That's like getting crane fly sized.
And almost like zombies. I'm sorry, but they are. Like, you smack them, and it's supposed to be just the females, I understand, that feed. But you smack them, you think you squished them, and they seem all crumpled up, and they just sort of shake themselves off, and away they go. I've seen that happen.
Yeah. And they spread disease because they're going from one person to the other, and not necessarily in the same time frame, but at some point they're going to go put their dirty proboscis in your skin, and which sounds kind of dirty when you say it that way. But yeah, come here, baby, with that proboscis.
Get that proboscis away from me.
Yes, exactly, away from my face.
You dirty bug, you.
I know, right? But it makes me think that somehow either they've evolved into another bug, or there's a bug out there that we're just not aware of that has somehow begotten itself into being, instead of evolution. Because even my cats show forms of evolution. Like my cat, Jubilee, and so we're bunny trailing, is part she's part Siamese and looks like she's part raccoon. I mean, she's got like a raccoon-like tail.
We talked about this.
And herringbone stripes and bright blue eyes like a Siamese cat does. And then Doc Holliday, he's really long and lanky. And he has giant paws, so he's going to be a big cat. He's got a really long tail, but his fur, the top of his fur isn't gray. In the sunlight, it shines like silver, like liquid silver. Yeah, it's really unusual. So I'm seeing animals all of the time that are so much different than what we're normally used to. So if you're looking around at different things, it's like somebody was telling me that there's now a house cat that has been bred that's like a bobcat, where you've been able to get bobcats for a while now, like since the mid 90s, because they breed them. They actually breed them. Some of them are bred down here, but this is a hyperbreed that actually is larger than a bobcat that you would actually find in the wild.
Wow.
And I mean, they're showing me like this thing would be taller than my bed and as large as your German Shepherd.
Well, we're seeing that. We're even seeing that with timber wolves and other animals. Like, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's just crazy what we're seeing in the way of size, evolution. Like, for example, I don't tell a lot of people, but actually my cats that have had the 2 litters of kittens are half siblings. They've got different fathers. And the first litter, same thing, raccoon-looking tail. Looks very... Sorry, get my hair out of my mouth here. And the 4 in the first litter, we have a male tortoiseshell, which is absolutely really unusual. He's sterile. Then we have in this litter, and darn it if my oldest kid did not call this, because they've always wanted an orange kitten. And he says, Mom, Sophie's having an orange kitten this time. And I said, no way. She didn't have an orange one last time. Sure enough, and you've seen the Mondo kittens that we have. Like, look at the size of those 3 kittens.
They're huge.
They're so heavy, like the orange one that my oldest son said was coming. Logan said it was coming, and he was. Pumpkin. He's so pumpkin. Heavy. He's so heavy, though, and big at 3 weeks that his feet are splaying out from the weight. Like, we've really been having to really exercise, almost do physio with a kitten because he's so big. His body can't support it. Yeah, exactly.
Work out the kitty.
Yeah, kitty workouts. Kitty workouts. Yep.
Aw.
I hear you.
Little babies.
Okay, so I got to ask you. I've been dying to ask you this. Okay, so you know all the lore out there that people say, you know, vampires can't go out at night. Well, we know the garlic that's BS. And, you know, can't go near crosses.
Can't go out at night.
Or not at night, sorry, in the daytime. Sorry. A long day.
That's all right.
Yeah, can't go out in the daytime, you know, or they'll completely disintegrate. I mean, it's all from movies and stuff. So what part is true that, if you're comfortable asking, because I'm really curious, that makes you identify with being a vampire? And I bet you people would love to hear this, because like we've joked about this before, you know, some of the things that you've heard that people might think about you, and that's not what you are. So
well, my vampirism is more of a spiritual practice.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Instead of oh my gosh, I woke up and on the wrong side of the coffin this morning and I'm a vampire.
That is like, the first time I've heard that. Cool.
I promise you that if you shoot me in the face, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to die. But I can tell you similarities in a lot of people that are part of our spiritual, I guess, movement, I guess, from what you would say, because it would be preposterous to wake up and say, oh yeah, I'm a vampire, because most people, have I met an actual vampire? Yeah, long time ago, when I was
really?
And I it didn't hit me for the longest time, and I was actually standing in line for tickets for a rock concert with my cousin, and we're standing there, and with some other, I can't remember what other friend was there, but it was my cousin Teresa. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden this guy and some other people come around the corner, and he actually locked eyes with me, and my cousin is like, that guy is totally looking at you. And that would have been wrong because I was like 14 at the time. So I'm like, okay, so we're country girls in the city right now. And so we're trying to keep everything low key because we're lucky to even be in the city right now because of how our family feels about us being out by ourselves. Right. And so, of course, we've got an adult lurking around somewhere waiting to pick us up after we get our tickets and stuff. But we feel so grown up and everything. And we're standing there talking to everybody. And this guy breaks away from the people that he's with and comes over and talks to us. Well, he doesn't talk to us. He talks to me. And during this conversation, I notice a few things about his physicality, that he, not only is he very calm and very deliberate with his words, but his skin is luminescent. Like,
wow.
It wasn't quite night and it wasn't quite sunset at the time, but his skin, it was almost like it was kind of a cool, glowy kind of thing. He wasn't bright white, but he had this appearance, like not really, I would say, not earthly kind of thing. And his eyes were very different, like not real gray, but not real blue, but they were almost like an animal's eyes.
Okay.
And I remember his breath.
Oh, interesting.
Breath was not nice. But he looked very nice. He was very fair, spoke really well, was dressed really well. And the one thing about it is normally I would be really nervous talking to a stranger like that, but for some reason I was very at ease with him. And in the middle of the conversation, he started like touching me, like touching my arm.
Ooh.
And stuff.
That'll creep me out at 14.
And normally that would, but and my cousin was getting really creeped out by it. But his mannerisms, everything that he was saying, which he was like asking our names and where we were from, and it's like, well, we're not really supposed to be talking to strangers, but you know, I'm Sarah and this is Teresa and blah blah blah, and we're from out of town. Didn't say exactly.
I have a cousin Teresa too.
Right? Is she from Langley, BC?
No, is yours?
Yes, mine is from Langley, BC.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, I had to say that. Okay, so you said you weren't supposed to be talking to him, but you felt completely at ease, and then he was just talking to you, and he touched you.
And he kept, it was the way he was, when somebody's, like if we were standing there and talking, I'm not really a touchy-feely person, but if I'm trying to get my point across, I'll be like, oh yeah, and whatever. But he he grabbed my hand at the end of the conversation and he told me that he would see me again. I have not seen him before, and I was told by somebody else that I'm definitely going to see him again. He was, without a doubt, an actual vampire.
I was thinking, God, I hope he's not the mystery man that visits you in spirit. I almost said it, but I didn't, because we have to keep that a secret for the next little while. But interesting. You know what's interesting, and I often wonder about this. Del, my husband, talks about this, especially around this time of year. I wasn't with him, but he was at a Halloween party one weekend. This is years ago. And upstairs was the washroom. He said there was a creepiest looking guy standing there, and when you came in, he had a sign-up sheet on the wall and said, sign your name, you're going to sell your soul, and tell me what you want. Apparently some people he knew that signed some pretty cruddy things happen. No, I don't think that has to do with vampires. Just saying, at this time of year, when you meet some interesting, well, not even this time of year, anytime, but when you meet some really odd people or unusual, like I would love to know, like when he touched you, could you pick up anything psychically from him when he touched you? You might have been too young back then, maybe, I don't know, but
no, I was starting to have, besides the visions that I was having and stuff like that, but I just knew without a doubt that there was something very different about this person, and that for some reason, normally I'd be creeped out, but for some reason I just wasn't. I don't know, but my cousin to this day, oh my gosh, it's like, you never should have talked to that person. We should have just said, well, we can't talk to strangers. And it's like, I didn't want to make it too obvious that we were kids, because I've been tall all of my life, so always look a little older. So, with all of that being said, I mean, yeah. And she just, and then when I told my Aunt Arlene, because of course I told Teresa not to say anything, and of course she tells her mom, which is my Aunt Arlene, and and my aunt is like, you should have never spoken to that person because you don't know that that person's going to come and stalk you, or if he's going to come and abduct you. It's like, he's not going to abduct me. I'm an ugly, homely kid.
Oh, we couldn't have been that homely. Picked you out for a reason.
But I have an idea of why he might have.
Oh, what do you think it was?
Because there were hundreds of people literally standing in that line.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, for some reason, like I said, there's not any, like I said, there's no such thing as real coincidence or serendipity, synchronicity.
Absolutely
and
believe that.
I met him for a reason. And like I've met people who really can shapeshift. I've actually seen them do it.
Interesting when that happens. Now, obviously, that wouldn't be something that you would classify with vampirism, rather something that as a shapeshifter, then, right?
Actually, there's some vampires that can shapeshift.
Cool. So when they
Or
shapeshift,
glamour.
do they take? Oh, sorry.
Or glamour.
Or glamour.
Mm-hmm. Glamour is when you change your appearance.
Oh, okay. So.
Or make other people think that you look a different way. So it's either you actually can physically change something about your appearance, or you can hypnotize somebody into thinking that you look a specific way.
Well, now this, I mean, okay, this is going to sound way out there.
Go for it.
I just thought of this now. Now, I have seen a document that claims, and some people believe this, a lot of people think this is crazy, that proves that we actually come from alien DNA. And we are kind of a science experiment here with primates. I knew you wouldn't be shocked by it. No. Some people would be like, what? But
weird, bring it on.
Have you heard of any alien race that has these kind of, characteristics? Like you said, being able to shapeshift, or there's got to be something more to this than just sort of spiritualism. If you don't want to go there, that's okay. I'm just, I've always been really curious about this. And when we were talking, so a lot of people haven't asked you these questions. So I said, I'd ask you if you're not comfortable. You can't tell me, you would tell me.
No, I have heard of, or actually seen a very convincing video of lizard-like humanoid beings that can shapeshift not only from human, but change their eye color, things of that sort. But apparently they're either extra-dimensional creatures, or they're actually from another planet entirely. Because I've either heard one or the other, or that they're actually both. So they live in another planet in another dimension from us, or they live within our same solar system and we're just not aware. But I've also heard that reptilians also drink blood.
Now, is that something that everybody that follows follows vampirism? Like, say somebody, like I've never heard the term of a sort of a spiritualism. I think that's really fascinating. So is that part of the culture, or does it have to be, or do you have that choice, or?
We fall all into different categories. Vampirism is different for everybody. I can feed several different ways, but I prefer sanguine feeding, which is, a lot of people say, is a huge, taboo, but there's actually more of a energy rush from actually doing that.
Okay. So do you have donors, willing donors then? Is that what happens, or?
I used to, but it is so entirely dangerous right now with everything so funky going on. And that's a lot of what has happened to a lot of people within our group that are sanguine feeders, because there's lots of people that are psychic vampires and not in the not aware of being psychic vampire kind of way, where they're just dramatastic and taking all your energy all the time, or but actually will stand in a room, which is also a no-no. Go to a club and pick people just to drain their energy. There's a lot of people that have done that in the past. There's people who prefer to sexually get their energy. So that's another another way to pranic.
It's like still a blood exchange though, or would it just be energetic?
Not always. It's more energetic, more of a exchange of pranic energy. So but yes, there has been involvement where there is an exchange of blood, as well as that. But a lot of people get a sexual thrill out of the blood play anyway. So there's people that actually have vampire fetishes that aren't actually vampires. So they are vampire fans. They are cosplayers or people part of the BDSM world that practice, hopefully safely, but a lot of times kind of questionably. I hope that they do practice safely, but they either do blood play through like knife play or blood play through other means, and either use pipettes or which for some of you that don't, I know you know what those are, but little plastic devices that actually help draw the blood once they make an incision well enough to extract the blood and then use it. But some people prefer to make the cut and then extract the blood by mouth, which can be dangerous for not only the donor but the person on the receiving end of it. And it's not altogether that safe. I mean, some people are able to do it safely. Yeah. And I know very many people who are able to do that safely. But would I tell somebody to do that?
Interesting.
Like people who go get a fancy set of fangs and automatically think that they're a vampire and then go bite some unsuspecting person at a club and really hurt them. That's not okay.
No, that's not okay.
Where you're not only are you hurting somebody that's not only unwilling to do that, but there's nothing fun about getting bitten by somebody random.
I can't think of anybody that would enjoy that. Like, I mean, unexpectedly and not willingly. Absolutely.
Like uber hickey with teeth. I mean, that's putting puncture holes in somebody, and puncture holes are not safe. Like, because if you've ever seen like the circumference and the length of a fang, and then like you put that into, the bite radius and the pressure that you need to actually break the skin, that's not only got to be painful, but that's not sexy at all. That's like really hurting somebody.
Oh yeah, and we've talked about that too. That even in the health community now, amongst especially gay men, there's not this big fear about becoming HIV positive because of the medication out there. Well, the horrific medications have to take, I'll tell you that, make you very, very sick. They're life-saving. But the other part is that there's so many other things you can pick up. Well, just sexually, but especially with blood. I mean, there's herpes, which is for life. There's hepatitis, depending what kind you get.
Spin the wheel.
Kinds. Yeah, spin the wheel, and so that's definitely not a safe thing.
And you need to expound on that. I had an argument not too long ago with somebody who believes that hepatitis is something that's curable. It's treatable. It's not curable. It's forever once you have hepatitis.
Hep A, though, depending, because I did some research on this recently. It's almost like a viral infection. I know you still can carry, but some of the virus in you, but it's not to the way that it's detrimental to somebody else, as I understand. Don't quote me on that. Just checking up on my own research on this. But Hep B, Hep C, and you get really sick from Hep A. But I mean, you're going up all the way. It's alphabet soup. It's not just A, B, and C anymore. So
There's
it's not
different strains.
And it's not something to fool around with. You're chronically ill. A lot of people eventually end up with cirrhosis of the liver or
Oh my gosh, yeah.
all kinds of things. So, because that makes me think now that, you know what, and we've talked before without divulging too much, but your blood's been low before and not really responded to anything else. I wonder if maybe that's why.
Now, I have a very rare form of pernicious anemia, and it doesn't matter how much iron they throw at me. Even if I could take all the vitamin C in the world with it, or whatever vitamin.
K or
yeah, it doesn't really help at all, and especially with my new medical problems, it doesn't. It has made it worse to the fact that I actually am in need of having surgery, and they're like ambivalent whether or not to give me the surgery because I'm going to need a transfusion.
Absolutely.
So, and I myself am like, I don't know that I really want to have a transfusion because they can't guarantee me under certain circumstances unless I find a donor that is willing to give blood that we can test to make sure that it doesn't have anything funky in it. And how many people want to go that far anymore? Because everybody's so, non-committal about certain things. I mean, if you have a good friend or whatever, but I can only receive the same type as I have. I can't receive from any other. And so that makes it kind of messed up. But otherwise, I mean, if it came down to it, I would say just go ahead and do it. Or if I get any more sick than I already am, I may just say screw it and say just go ahead and give it to me. But yeah, I mean, have
you had a transfusion before?
Yes.
Yeah, so you know what it's like to go through them. Then it's just
painful.
And I've with transfusions, it's not just a simple thing as stick a needle in the arm, folks. First of all, we used to call them garden hoses because blood's a lot thicker than intravenous fluids, and then a lot of people have reactions. Get a fever with it, go into congestive heart failure. Go into congestive heart failure if it's given too soon. Never mind any of the things that may not show up in the testing that they've done through certain donors, So it's definitely not a fun thing to go through. That's for sure. Not at all.
It's not fun. And on the drink, people ask me about drinking blood. And drinking blood normally will make somebody vomit. So I don't, for those of you who would like to try it, I don't think that unless you know that you can handle that, something like that, not only is it...
Try getting a bad bleeding nose if you ever had one.
And so I can drink blood and not vomit.
So I just got to ask you. So what was the final deciding or determining factor that you absolutely knew you were? I believe you wholeheartedly, 100%. I always have. I'm just saying for you that you knew within your, with your being that that's who you are. That's what you're who you're meant to be when you were put on this earth.
Through not only dreams, but I've also had spirit guides tell me without a doubt that that's going to be part of my life. But I've tried to be Sally normal, as normal for me as I can get. And I'm going to do this for a second. But it doesn't really happen for me because this is the thing, is that it's like once you are and understand and start doing the things that you need to do to be where you're at spiritually and as a vampire, being a spiritual vampire, that it chases you, that you end up depressed, you end up strange things happen to you. you can deny all you want. Like I have a friend right now who I originally was part of her actual coven, and which I've never indoctrinated. I didn't indoctrinate myself into an actual group until my late 30s because I don't believe in indoctrination for any reason. But the reasons were that she's a really good friend of mine, and I was basically her historian librarian, and that's the only reason why I did it. And she tried to walk away from it and have some normalcy because of the kind of work that she does. And it literally drove her nuts.
Oh, really?
To walk away. Mm-hmm.
So when you say indoctrinate, does that mean that there's a certain procedure? Is that what you're talking about with indoctrinating?
It's not really procedure. It's basically going by the, it's like becoming a Methodist. It's like,
okay.
It's like, I believe this to be true within, we have certain places and groups that have certain tenets. Like we keep to the Black Veil, which actually is listed online if you ever want to read it. That.
And the Black Veil is like a document. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. It's basically rules. They're tenets. Like you're not going to feed off of somebody that's unwilling. You're not going to victimize people within your group. You are not going to victimize children or animals, or things like that. Just basic. You would think at this point in your life that it would be common sense. But unfortunately, common sense is actually becoming kind of rare.
Oh, so, you can't. Oh, we say that at our house quite a bit, all the time.
You would think, but then again, I shouldn't have thought.
Is there an age that you have to be before you can be indoctrinated?
Over 21.
I would figure. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, what if somebody was wondering? They're having visions. They're, like you said, sort of having an awakening, maybe spiritually, working with their guides, hearing this. How do they go about finding people to commune with, or a coven, or others like themselves?
They would, like me, I started seeking out, going on the internet, going to the library, and making sure that I'm not nuts, number one. Number two, because I don't turn into a bat. I may be an old bat.
We've joked about this.
I don't eat babies. At least on Tuesdays, I don't. And it's. I'm not a Satanist. I'm not, a Luciferian. I am not, there's all of these things that people think that it's a satanic rite. And it's like, yes, there are some vampires that belong to and do satanic rites, and that's their right to choose. Am I one of them? Nope. Nope. I'm one of those people who I'm like you would say vampiric, scientific, sorcery kind of person. I really don't fit into a class. And that's why I don't say what I do. I don't say what I'm capable of, because for all I know, I'm average at best and I'm crappy at it. So why would I want to advertise my talent if it's not that good,
Well, it's not even that. That's part of who you are, right? And I don't know. I believe that goes without saying with anything, I think, on this planet, if you think about it, right? Say, for example, I identify, and I'm French and English, right? I'm English and Scottish descent. Well, it would be crazy to stereotype that there's certain things that I'm going to do because I'm of a certain race or anybody. And I believe that would be the same thing as being a vampire as well. It doesn't mean that there's only one set of rules and this is what happens, but unfortunately that's kind of the, what's been put out there in the media. And like I said, it's a double-edged sword with the media, because I really feel like there's some topics that need to be out in the open, and it opens the doors for discussion. But unfortunately, at least 90% of the world, probably more, when they see something like that, that's what they think it is. There's no other
Yeah.
No other avenues, no other. That's just not the way the world is. It makes you
Yeah.
unique and individual.
If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's got to be a vampire.
No, no. So, now, is this a hereditary type of thing, or is it a spiritual kind of contract, or,
Sometimes it happens to be hereditary. We've found out in some of the research that has been done. And yeah, there are vampiric researchers. There's a lot of people that are like, I believe that I was born this way. I came along with all of my giftings because I have a gigantic amount of giftings for somebody who is supposed to be normal. So even though I personally believe that everybody has the abilities, it's just opening themselves up to being able to experience and hone those talents, whether they're ready for them. Because like I said, we're all in different parts and different places within our life, and spiritually, existentially, whatever. It's like, this is my little snow globe and this is where I'm at. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm better. It doesn't mean that I'm worse. It just means that's just where I'm at.
Cool.
For some reason, that's just, it is what it is. And it was really a struggle growing up and being the odd person for many reasons. And just because I grew up this way doesn't mean that the other person who experiences the same similar things is a vampire.
Right.
It doesn't mean it. If you believe that you could be or are interested in knowing more about it, you can get with, I would say, some well-known groups and research the groups very well before you start contacting them, because some of them may not have your best interests involved.
Or posers. Or posers.
Yeah, posers who could potentially hurt you or relieve you of not only your life but your money. I've seen that happen. I've seen a lot of messed up stuff happen. A lot of us have. So just be very careful. And like, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Like challenging, like I've had people ask me with my certain abilities or whatever. And the reason why I just don't generally say a lot of the things that I'm able to do, because not only does it sound like I'm a nut bar, but I would just rather not. One thing, like I had somebody who was shaking my tree that wouldn't let it go. And so one of my abilities is that I am able to spiritually walk, which isn't always a vampire thing. It's just a existential spiritual thing that you can do through meditation and practice and show yourself to somebody. Well, I actually have, I guess, a doppelganger, you would call it. And my doppelganger is a lot scarier looking than I am. And this person was not only visited by myself, but a version of myself that's not so nice. And so
we all have those.
Yes, we do all have those, but it scared her enough to not ask me anymore about my fake vampiric issue. And it's like, I don't go around threatening people, but it's like, I don't go around telling you that, your makeup's terrible, or your
speaking
or your chicken nuggets suck or something like that. I'm not I'm not going to go and say that. It's like, that's like trolling somebody online. It's like, I don't put my neck out for people so that they can take a stab at me. It's more like for educational purposes, because I didn't have people reaching out to me. I didn't have people saying, hey, here's some information, and should you feel this way, you can do this, or go and search out more this or that. No. And it's nicer when there's other people who can actually help you along. I mean, like, let's just say, like, the group that that I hang out with, which is Shahaza, is a very safe group. I feel very safe with my elders. They're very awesome. They're very good about making sure there's education involved in what's going on, and there's not a bunch of crazy people walking around thinking that they can turn into bats. I mean, we're just a bunch of people who are vampire enthusiasts, spiritual vampire people that want to learn more about different things. Some people are Wiccans. Some people, we come from all different walks of life and just come together on, similar belief systems.
Because I think that's cool because we had talked about this before, but somebody I had met had said that they had to be sworn to secrecy. They couldn't tell anybody, what they were to preserve the secret. Well, right there and then, you're just perpetuating, the myths, I would say, wouldn't you?
Well, some people actually, is part of their indoctrination or whatever, that there's certain things that I can't talk about because it's part of ritual, or it's part of this, or part of that.
I understand
and that's
that.
It's like your grandma's secret recipe for pumpkin pie or something. It's one of those things that they just keep sacred because it's to that group. Now, when somebody comes out and actually says something like that to you, that makes it sound a little shady.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about you, but that to me, I'd be like, red flag.
Well, what have you got to hide? Like I said, you're very open about it, and like I said, I believed you from the day I knew. It wasn't a big deal for me, but you know what? It's just my belief, but I really think that if people would just not worry about what other people do in their lives, got questions, ask honestly, openly, have open discussions, but mind your own business. That, you know what, if it doesn't affect your life in any way, shape, or form, that's okay, to each their own. I think the world would be a much happier place, but then again, that would probably be utopia, right?
Right. It's some kind of utopia, that dystopian future where people actually get along and there's not a whole bunch of humans involved in it. So that's the only way it's going to happen, is if we're invaded by another form of creature that teaches us that we have to be a little nicer, not only to each other, but to our planet. Yeah. You live on a planet.
Well, we've talked about that before, that I had actually watched a channeling of somebody that was able to channel Gaia, or Mother Earth, and she referred to us, or there was no gender. She just went along with the she because we know her as Gaia or as Mother Earth. In the channeling, was her mediumship, and she calls us parasites. And if you think about it, she didn't say it. Yeah, it shouldn't say it in a bad sense. It was very lovingly, but we are.
Aw, my little parasites.
Yeah, little parasites. Well, if you think about it, right? We live off the land. That's part of her. We live, or earth, whatever you want to call it. The animals eat the grass, and just everything fruit from trees and everything. Like, that's kind of what a parasite does, right? It lives off its host. So I thought it was an interesting analogy. I didn't find it distasteful. I just thought, it's interesting. So how do they dispel the myths about this? Like, is this becoming more common with vampirism because people are more comfortable feeling about being able to come out? Or have you seen the numbers just sort of stay stable, like, or slowly rise, slowly fall? Or
it just depends on where you're at. Certain forms of acceptance, like here, I notice in the South, a lot of our covens are not only spiritual vampires, but a lot of us have been involved in some way in the BDSM community, which doesn't mean that all vampiric people are like that. It just means that for some reason, in our demographic, that seems to be true. A lot of us have that background, and it's like some of it is because of the cool clothes, or some of it is because of this or that. It's like I explained in one of my previous Tripping the Void shows. I think it was my second or third show, and I talked about BDSM culture. People buy collars and things like that, and they think that, oh, collar makes me a vampire, collar, or wearing a rubber dress like in Underworld. They had some killer clothing, but if you looked inside their coven, they were dressed well, but they all had different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would see some that were wearing like hipster style clothes, or you would see some that were like really super dressed up in like an Armani suit with like an extra button undone, or you had ball gowns or things like that. That's kind of like where we're at. It's like, let's say for going to an event here, not only here, but in other cities, we have protocols where it's just nice for you to announce that you are going to another city, because you're going into somebody else's area and saying that, oh yeah, I'll be there and blah, blah, blah. So you're not stepping on anybody's toes or whatever. You're just being polite. And there's a dress code. You don't run in there in track shoes and looking like a hot mess. We kind of have expect that you're respectful and that you're clean, you have clean clothes on. We're not asking that you run out and buy like $1,000 outfit, but do people do that? Yeah. But at least, look like you tried.
But that becomes, I guess,
like
probably part of your community and, social family in some ways too, I bet, right?
Yeah, like a lot of us, like I dress a lot of times very Victorian or, old school. A lot of people say old school goth, but I tend to stick period-wise to Victorian, Edwardian kind of things. Just because I feel more, I don't know, more dressed up that way, I guess.
Interesting. Wow. I didn't even need to pull out. See, I didn't even need to pull this out, folks. I have this book here. It's going to be backwards. You've obviously probably seen this book before, The Element Encyclopedia of Vampires, right? Yeah. So what thoughts on that? Is it fairly accurate? Is it need some work, or?
Not everybody has all of the answers. I'll say there's a lot of really good authors out there. That's a good book to start with. Like I'm a person that will tell you not to read just one book and make a decision. Please
we've talked
read
about that,
at least 3 or 4, and then talk to some people who've read the books and say, what did you think? I'm not saying like join Oprah's book club or anything. I'm just saying do some research. It won't kill you, I promise.
And of course, I happened to open to a random page, and what has it got? A little bat, a little. It says Jacobsdorf vampire. I think it's got different kinds of vampires in here, and then from like a vampire cat. You're talking about and stuff like that. Interesting.
It's funny.
So,
I was going to say the other day I was thinking about my Naja, which is my mother in the community, actually posted a picture, and it's this beautiful picture, and it's under it was tagged when your magic goes wrong or whatever, but you still look good. And it was a picture of this beautiful cat, but the cat was like half cat and half peacock, so it was a blue cat with peacock feathers, and it's like that would be so cool. But the funny thing is, that day I was actually sitting there thinking, you know how cool it would be to be like a werewolf cat thing. That would be kind of interesting. It's like a cat dog, but cooler.
I guess I'm gonna write this word down. I can't say it on the air, but I'll tell you the word I thought of for that. When you said that picture.
I bet.
This is so cool. We've talked about this before, because I'm always fascinated by other people, just because, I haven't heard of something, because even if I think most people look at themselves, give yourself 5-10 years, go back then as you get, as you go through this lifetime, I guarantee you most people aren't thinking the same things they were thinking back then. Some people stay stagnant. But if you're open to information, open to learning about other people, you can change your views, you can change your belief system, you change your whole thought process just by being open to it, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
everything is about your brain and where you are mentally. So if you're depressed and kicking yourself all the time, your situation's not going to improve. So you have to actively be thinking, oh, not only do I rock and do it well, but I'm good at it.
Hmm.
So and keep that skip in your step, and it's not going to be easy all the time. Like I know you suffer from pain as well, and
Hmm.
it's not going to be a good time all the time.
Nope.
But you've got a choice to go, well, I'm going to be a grouch today, or
Yeah.
or
Well, what I have a problem with is you'll hear people, or you'll hear certain, so-called mentors,
Mhm.
teachers, guru, whatever you want to call them, and they'll say, or you'll hear people question, well, somebody's always in a positive, great mood. Well, they must be sticking their head in the sand. They're not even dealing with issues. It's like, no, it's a choice. It's
Mhm.
truly a choice, and like I think it takes a lot of guts to stand up for who you are,
Mhm.
whoever that is, including
Yes.
the fact that you're very open about this. And I think that that's a really wonderful thing because people can learn a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
from asking you these questions. Because I'd love to say, I've got like a zillion. The more questions I ask you, you mentioned about a lot of you have been in the BDSM community, or
Mhm.
like, are there really werewolves? Do you guys commune with, not commune, but certain social events? Do you
Mhm.
guys connect, or do you stay
Yes,
separate, or
we actually do.
okay?
And
Cool.
what we refer to them as is otherkin. So
Oh, I like that.
we have there's even people who believe that they are fairies.
Oh, yeah, I could see
Hmm.
that. Yeah. So are
And
they part of your community as well?
yes,
Oh, cool.
there's all kinds of different kinds of community, and basically, like I said, they fall under what we call an otherkin, and they call us otherkin
Hmm.
because we're not part of their group.
Hmm.
But they or they will be part of our group, and like we have within my group a knighthood. So if you are not part of this or that, there is other things that are available. It's like, do I have a title? Eh.
Hmm. So when you say knighthood, that's what you mean, like sort of falling under the umbrella of your coven, then? Is that what you're meaning? Or
Hmm.
oh, cool. So you sound like you're, as long as people are being reasonable, following the rules, but still maybe say somebody's not experimenting, but needing the time to learn more about who they are, or is this really who they are?
Hmm.
Are they still accepted into the community, sort of as a budding vampire, or I don't want to say
You would
apprentice?
get a person who would vouch for you,
Okay,
uh, like a mentor, and
right.
once you are accepted, and it's a long process.
I would bet.
You basically, because we're figuring out if this is really a good fit, not only for you but for us. If you really fit within the category of vampire, but even if you're not, spiritually, you can be part of the same group. It's just, are you a good fit for the group?
Right.
Because because we have other groups that we're friends with, where there's other houses that are, you know, are we're friendly with, and it's not because, oh, we're at aught with every other house. No, we're
Hmm.
not, and that's not a thing. It's part of our thing with our house is that we are to, according to Mother Goddess Rosemary, who's my Naja,
Hmm.
and she is the leader. We are to radiate love.
Oh, I like that.
It's not just, be love or be loving and kind, but to radiate love. So no
Okay.
matter what people throw at you, or when I come out and talk about vampirism and things like that, because we could be here for 15 hours and talk about it, because there's
Hmm.
so many things um, having to do with the pros, the cons, the people who are cons. that have taken the community for lots of money. And we still have to radiate love and like you say, love and light upon these people, because we have love and light workers within our midst. I just am not a light worker. I am more of a scientific. I'm not shamanistic. I'm not a Wiccan. I really don't fit in a category.
That's okay. Well, you mentioned that you identify with sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm not really well versed in the difference between, say, Wiccan or identifying as a witch versus an alchemist versus, say, sorcery. Like, I know what an alchemist does and have an idea about, Wicca or somebody identifying as a witch, but with sorcery, it's a little bit different for me. So what's the difference with sorcery?
Taking different elements and putting together them with intent, and either working with things that a lot of people would think are on the little darker side of life, or people who have already passed over. And no, deals are not made. It's more of a working relationship with whatever you're working with. Is it dangerous? Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, it's definitely dangerous. And I am not a master. I'm still learning myself. I will always eternally be a student. And
that too.
And but there are some people, if you are interested in sorcery, like I am a big, huge advocate for. I love sorceress Cagliostro. She is a wonderful teacher. She has awesome books. She's an awesome person. Yeah, she writes things and puts things so that it's not that I need them to be easily understood. I don't need that kind of training wheel, but I like that she doesn't speak over people's heads like some other teachers do.
Yeah.
And do a lot of self-important stuff. She actually is a very down-to-earth kind of person, and I respect that a lot. That for her to come out and do what she does and be out about it and be very forthright with everything. And she walks like she talks, and I respect everybody who does that.
Yeah.
So not just sorcery, or for other people. I mean, like philosophers and engineers, things like that.
Well, anybody that does, you kind of have a better idea. You at least hope what you're getting. If they walk the walk, or that they talk, then you've got a better idea than someone just shooting their mouth off saying they're this and this and this and this, yet they really, really aren't. Not even the closest thing, right?
Right, exactly. And that's one thing, folks, is that the more somebody has to talk about something is usually the less likely that person is that one thing. So if they have to constantly hammer in that oh yeah, I know this person, or oh yeah, like my big thing is people who name drop. Unless it has something to do with the conversation. Not only is name dropping kind of on the rude side, but because I know people who are part of that conversation usually, and they're usually not very happy that they've got randos dropping their names like they know them, and it's like, that's kind of stalkerish. And it's like talking about, let's say that I'm talking to somebody in conversation and I name drop Lore. I'm like, oh yeah, I know Lore. She's my best girl. She's awesome. We talk all the time and stuff like that. And yeah, we do talk all the time and stuff. But I'm not going to beat your name to death.
No, and I don't.
It's like,
do that
come on,
either.
people. Let's be real.
I have a close family member I no longer speak to with the one I shall not speak their name. This is Halloween.
That person who shall not be named.
And they were common for that. Well, you know John and Mary, blah, blah, blah. And I'm be like, who are you talking about? And then they tell you the last name. No, never heard of them. But, because they might have had a little money or a little fame or a little bit whatever.
Yeah, like they had their 15 minutes and those
Yeah.
15 minutes were fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, well,
Well, oh,
yeah.
you're right. I could ask you questions all night long here. Here I have been, and you've been so good about this. Thank you, because I didn't even prepare any, but I knew I would have like a
No,
million questions.
you can ask me anything. I don't, and it's not just about me, just the whole thing. Because we've got the people who are just vampire enthusiasts. They love vampire movies. They, like for a long time, Hot Topic, and I'm sure you remember that before they had a large section of ICP and gangster rap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they, had vampire everything, and that was pre-Twilight. That they had, it was like vampire-y. I mean, that's where you could get if you couldn't afford to have a fangsmith, and there's a such thing as a fangsmith.
There's a fangsmith.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I would recommend several of them. One of them being Maven Lore in New Orleans. He's a very good fangsmith. So there's a shout out to Maven. He's also an awesome DJ and promoter, and he's a very awesome person. And he is the Vampire King of New Orleans.
Ooh, maybe that's where I've heard that name before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with the fangs, obviously they'd have to fit properly, but if you were going to, I guess it'd have to be super sharp. I was getting all these visions in my head. Would they have to be hollow or have something in them? Because you're not drawing out the blood through the teeth or the fangs. The fangs are there to make the puncture, obviously, right? So that's what the purpose is?
No, the purpose for a lot of people like myself, I don't usually wear fangs because I don't feel like I need to. Maybe for photographs,
Right.
But they're uncomfortable. And I mean, for aesthetics, they're really awesome and whatever. And having a pair, it's a really neat feeling to have fangs in your mouth. I can't explain it. It kind of makes you more empowered a little bit. Kind of like having a gun, maybe, kind of like that. But fangs are kind of sexy.
Oh, definitely. People gotta find them sexy, or they wouldn't have been finding like Twilight. I mean, I can go through Blade. I mean, there's like how many of these movies that have had different, stories wrapped around vampires. And there's different. Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say there's different kinds of fangs too. I mean, if you want to look up Maven Lore, he is a fangsmith, and he's on. There's things on. He's been on the History Channel. He's been on A&E. He's different things talking about vampires, and you can see him probably on YouTube, either DJing or making fangs. And the process of making fangs is. I mean, you sit there like for a few hours while he's doing it. I mean, he really works his tail off making fangs.
Okay, so how does one learn a skill like that?
He actually, I believe, had to apprentice to learn how to make fangs. A lot of people apprentice to learn to make fangs.
So has it been passed down then through the generations? Is that what it is?
I'm not a fangsmith. So, but as far as I know, that they either have learned between each other, because we have several within, houses that do professionally make fangs. He has his own store where he makes fangs, and he travels making fangs as well. So he just got back from a trip from LA.
Okay.
Making, meeting people and probably making contacts and stuff, but he was making fangs. So, Maven, I'm giving you a shout out for your fang smithing. So, if you're listening.
So, what about the global community? Do you guys ever get a chance to connect with them as well?
Yes, we are an international house. And so we've got people, I know Maven's got people in Australia in his house because he has House of Lore, and he's also part of the house that I'm affiliated with, which is House Shahaza.
Right.
And so, but he has his own house, which is the House of Lore. But it's a cross kind of like between his own house, and it's like he has the support of House Shahaza.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and it's really neat relationship. And if you watch or see how we actually do everything. It's very regimented. There are some rules. Yeah. Oh my gosh, is there drama? Yeah, there's all kinds of drama. But you gotta keep, everybody's got to keep their mouth shut about certain things, and there's a lot of trash talking because there's haters everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's haters out of the community. I mean, there's haters that, that are haters of our own lovely radio station. So, we get drama here too. I mean, you can't go 2 steps without having some kind of drama somewhere. So,
it's true.
It's everywhere. Oh yeah, and that's a psychic vampire kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, the drama llama rears its ugly head again. We've got to chop its head off.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's important too. Like you said, versus a psychic vampire versus a vampire that's psychic, right? Because that's been kind of a more new agey term I've noticed over the last 10 years, psychic vampire, when it's just somebody, whether knowingly or usually not gonna, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people I have met that are psychic vampires are the type of person, like you said, a drama llama, always negative, gossipy, like just sucking up that energy, and they don't know why.
Or stirring the pot.
Yep. Or, and that, plus there's sometimes too, there's people that I found that the ones that are most draining for me are people who, again, the cup's always half empty, but their life is so terrible, and life is just so awful.
Oh my gosh.
And the thing is, and you mean you try and send out that positive energy and love to them, and I'm not making fun of them, but the thing is, it gets so draining. And again, I think it's like that for all of us, right? It's so hard. It's so easy to look from the outside, looking in, versus looking at yourself, holding that mirror up to yourself. And I don't think they ever really see themselves for that. But then it's almost like it's self-perpetuating, because I found in that circle, speaking of vampires, not the same kind, but not even close, but these poor people don't realize that, the more, it's even needy and wanting to hang on, and, constantly wanting more and more and more of somebody's energy or time, and then somebody starts to push them away, then they feel worse about the situation. Like, it's like you just don't even know how to break that cycle.
No. And that's the thing is how to know if you are the negative kind of, and when we talk about social psychic vampires, and it doesn't mean that you're a vampire. It means that you're taking up somebody's time, because, and like when you're explaining that, I picture somebody who is addicted to drama so badly that they're immersed in it so often because they're the cause of their own drama, and they're the kind of person that you give them or you try to give them some wisdom or tell them how they can be helped. And as soon as you even try to give them a sentence of help, it's an automatic no.
I can't do
you
that.
Just don't understand.
I was thinking that. I was actually thinking that before you said that. Yeah, I was. And you spend a lot of time with them, and especially if you're a giving kind of person or a helping kind of person, and, you care. But it gets to the point where you've got to cut it off. But the thing is, and I don't think a lot of them, because I am a magnet for people like that many, many times. And I don't think they realize it. But the more you kind of, like when I've recognized it, send them lots of love, send them lots of, they're not like they're abusive or anything like that. But you got to create that wall. And the more you pull away, I think they're addicted to that, and they feel it, but they don't know why they feel it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're in a way, it's kind of like a vampire, because they're addicted to the drama, because it makes them feel somehow self-important, and it's a self-important thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I only feel special because I have a problem, because people are looking at me and trying to help me or feel sorry for me. Yeah. See, you're in my head again. Yeah, sympathy, feeling sorry for me. Woe is me. Yeah, we didn't plan our looks today, by the way. It just I mentioned that we were going to dress up because, well, not only is it Spookathon, but for the weekend, but we're coming into Halloween, and and I was trying to think of, what I'm going to do with my hair, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do the purple hair and I'll do purple makeup to go with my outfit.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see Laura until
I didn't see you
producer
either. We didn't
Katie
talk.
connects us, and I'm like, oh, it happened again.
Yeah, it did. I was going to wear purple lipstick. I ran out of it, that shade, actually. My makeup's running all over, but we didn't have the white makeup.
To be that way.
Oh, well. I call it the hot mess look. Like, not hot like I'm hot, but like everything's melting.
It's a milky mess.
Oh, I'm surprised I haven't got anybody calling in asking any questions. I thought for sure there'd be people.
Unless they're afraid, because the number is still 202-559-7943. If you want to call in with your questions or join in the conversation, because we're at that half mark until we're on to the next thing here, because there's another awesome show coming up after, and then we've got Katie and Daryl here that are working their tails off, so everybody give them the positive energy here.
Yes, send them a zap.
Definitely make sure that all of us hosties here let them know how appreciated they are.
For sure. Because they're gonna be up with us. After midnight, because we're the Angel Rock is going live for 3 hours from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Sunday morning. So, and let me see. I'm just gonna add something and she's a special co-host with us tonight, Lorian Fenton. Well, early this morning, and you said if you're up, you might join in.
I'll be up.
And I heard through the grapevine that somebody else, I don't know if he said if he's up, Chip might pop by. We're going to have quite a party tonight, you guys. So if you're up in the middle of the night, not that I'm self-promoting, but I know you're going to join me anyways if you're up.
Yeah, we're kind of meeting in the middle here. And Katie's probably like, dang it.
Yeah. Oh, she knew this was coming. Poor girl. Yeah. Thank goodness we got Michael Vera too, and everybody out there. Everybody's participated. It's had great shows. I've been listening. I know you have too, off and on. And
people are like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, I've got LNM on. Well, what are you doing? Well, I originally was gonna try to help and stuff, but with my health, I feel kind of crummy. I actually have been having a hard time getting out of bed, so that's one of the other reasons I decided to dress up. It just makes dressing up sometimes. You just got to get up. Especially for you ladies that don't feel good, and put on some makeup, take a shower, put on some makeup, and put on an outfit. Or for me, if I don't get as far as an outfit, put on my favorite pair of shoes at the moment, and just even if I'm sitting in a chair, got to put those shoes on.
Oh yes, well, I can't wear lovely shoes. I look like I'm wearing robot boots right now. Well, actually, I have my Chucks on, my pink and black Chucks on one foot, but I've got still got that darn cast boot. Hopefully,
I have a corset very much like your shirt. Is that a corset?
It is.
I have one very, very similar.
Here, I'll pull my fake hair out of the way. Yep, there we go. It's too big. It's too big. It needs to be taken in, but yes, I do.
Is that a hint?
No, I didn't lose weight. No, you know what it is? I didn't let it out. I sewed an extra piece in there, and I didn't show people, but it was the night of my oldest. He was doing his drag queen thing last weekend, and I said, you know what? I've had this in my closet forever. Right. It fits, but it's just like sucking in. So I added in a piece, but then I made it too big. So it's actually open in the complete back, and the piece I sewed in just goes into a little tied up little bow.
Well, you know the saying though.
What's that?
If it's not hurting, it's not working.
Well, Shayla V got a new corset, and I have no idea how to lace them up. We're gonna have to watch a YouTube video or something. But it's this gorgeous, gorgeous purple.
Ooh. I like it.
This color, and I keep wanting to steal it, but my drag queen son, it's his. He paid for it, so.
Well, his. But. But I see no reason. I mean, if he can take things from your wardrobe. I don't see why you can't borrow it.
Oh, he won't care if I do. We're not the same size, though. The only thing he borrows is anything that's like kind of stretchier. Like I have a black one-piece cat suit, like halter top, that he's worn that. Or we talked about that Emilio Pucci dress, and like, it's not Emilio Pucci, just pattern style.
Shh,
so,
don't tell anybody.
No, it could be a poser.
Nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know. I remember when I first taught my husband Del about Louboutin. And every time I see, okay, who is that again with the red soles on the bottom of the shoes?
Louboutin.
Yeah, you say it much better. Yes, Louboutin. I don't own a pair.
I have 4 pairs.
I know you do, including those snakeskin. Is it the snakeskin runners you have?
I sold them.
You did sell them. Yes.
Yeah, I bought them for $12 and I sold them for quite a bit more than that.
That's when you like getting a bargain.
Yeah, I go to the, when I go up north where I'm from, because I'm so far north in the sticks that they don't know, a lot of people don't know any better about brands. Fortunately, I've been around the world a little bit, literally, and actually know a little bit about some fashion, even though right now I may not look so much like that. But
you look fine.
Other than that, I go looking for those brands and stuff. I kid you not, I have found Chanel earrings at Goodwill.
You told me this.
Real Chanel for $1. And I'm like, all right, if you're that dumb.
That's what you said the last time. I think it was on one of our shows. You said you even asked them first, are you sure?
Yes, I do say, are you sure? But if at the end, I'm like, all right.
If you're that silly, that's silly yourself. Yep. Yeah, somebody else I know. We don't have that many. We don't have Goodwill. We have the Salvation Army, and then we have, what's it called? I don't know. The big joke around here is anything that's bargain shop or things like that. We always give it a fake French name, like one of the
Target.
Like Target, or I forget. There's something. It's not the Beverly Hills Boutique, but I forget what the name of it is, and we've called it the BH Boutique or something, like, just to make fun of it. But because there's a place called Value Village. I don't know what the name of that is.
We call it the Village. My sister and I, we're going to the Village.
The Village. Yeah, you guys probably had it first, and it's actually a cool thing. But you think about it, you donate your stuff, and the cool thing is they'll come pick it up, right? But then they sell it in the store, and I just find that amazing because you can find some pretty designer stuff in those stores if you go through it. You
got to be quick at the Village, because there's other people doing the same thing. But I go to smaller, like mom and pop places. But Goodwill, because they don't go through their stuff so fast where I'm from, because they get so many donations, they just throw it out, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So
that's sad.
And so I've gotten some really good deals on stuff that is really expensive normally, and I've turned around and just sold it.
Well, why not? We have a Salvation Army around here. It's actually run by you guys. I don't know if you guys have those, because we have them at Christmas all the time. I thought you guys did. Okay, well, we have that here too. And I looked. Every now and then you take a look, because I don't go there very often. I'm lucky if I go there maybe once a year, and it's usually around Halloween. I've been there a couple times more trying to build Shea Levy's wardrobe, and checked out their jewelry and stuff. I don't know if they've got an appraiser or what too, but it's like well overpriced. So there's no bargains to be had there, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, well, that's why I don't feel so bad about going to the Will. Like my sister and I say, we're going to the Will. We're going to the Will. But I find stuff there all the time for my niece or whatever. And but they have appraisers, and so does Salvation Army. They actually have auction sites or actual websites where they do sell their higher end goods. They even have art departments and stuff. You can go to their websites and either bid on it, or they do have stuff that's not in auction. It's like when they find those Chanel purses or whatever. It's like, no, I'd rather dig for mine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more fun. And then and this is a vampire related subject. Most vampires, we are into the fashion.
Mm-hmm. No, that is one thing you do see in the movies. That is one thing you see in the movies. I will give you that.
You don't see dirty vampires unless they're coming out of the ground. I mean, if you ever watch True Blood and see Pamela when she went to ground,
right?
She got a tracksuit from Walmart so that she wouldn't mess up her school. She wouldn't mess up her Chanel suit. She's like, I had to go into Walmart.
Go into Walmart and get myself a tracksuit.
Yeah, exactly. Like I go into Walmart and it's like my sister and I go to Walmart so we can feel pretty. You having a bad day? Just go to Walmart.
Well, that is true. That is true. There is actually a Facebook page. Things I've seen at Walmart. Or not. Is it Things I've Seen at Walmart? Yeah, Things I've Seen at Walmart. Yeah, if you're having a bad day, definitely.
Yeah, I feel pretty at Walmart. Like, I don't have to go to the ballet to feel elegant and pretty. I can go to Walmart and like, damn, I'm hot.
Yeah, I've seen some things there.
Like the nude colored leggings on people, but spandex is a privilege, not a right.
Especially lighter colors.
I'm sorry about it, and I realize because I'm very tall and I have broad shoulders and stuff. I mean, if I had little shoulders and stuff, I would look disproportionate. I get it, but I don't get people who, and I'm not about pushing people down that have a good body image or anything, but if just because something fits does not mean wear it in public.
I'm laughing, and the reason why I'm laughing, again, when I lived with my best friend, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I might as well embarrass myself. When we lived together, this is throwback from the 80s, growing up, and they had those MC Hammer pants.
Oh my gosh.
The Karen pants.
Like those Genie
MC Hammer.
Yeah.
And I remember I was having a feeling chunky night, and we had to go out, and I spent about an hour looking for something. Finally, it's like, you know what? I might as well just grab something comfortable, but I'll dress it up, I'll accessorize it. I spent hours, and I walk out, and she says to me, Laura, you gotta go change those. That makes your ass look huge.
Yes.
We still laugh about it.
That's a true friend. That is a true friend.
I was mad at her. And then as I went to go change, I kept telling myself, that's a good friend it is. Thank God she did let me go out and look like this.
Exactly. Because how many friends do you have that actually would say, nope, change?
Yeah. Actually, I have, yes. Well, I do. Because I always say, and the other thing I say is asking loaded questions. There is no right answer to ask your spouse, do these pants or dress make my butt look good or big or bad or whatever? Doesn't matter what. That's a loaded question. There's no right answer.
Like, well, does he like your butt big? That would be the next question. Like, it's only a loaded question if you're looking for a fight at that point.
Yeah.
Just saying, ladies. It's like, don't be asking if you're fishing for compliments and you can see the dimples in your bottom in those pants and you can, don't do it. Just don't.
I just don't even ask it because there is no right answer for a man, especially a man.
Exactly. Because they can get away with anything. And it's funny, Bubba, like my maintenance guy walking in here all sweaty, smelling like Cheetos and Vaseline. And
what a combination.
I didn't know whether I should make sure that I've got the mace next to me or educate him on, non-petroleum based lubrication. I mean, seriously. It's like Can I Febreze this guy or should I mace him? I guess it was gross, and I can't make this stuff up. It's just that it's like, welcome to Southwest Florida. We need, smell better spray. It's like,
I think that should be a band name. Cheetos and Vaseline.
Cheetos and Vaseline, exactly. Like some 41 used to be free beer.
No, my favorite is still Intergalactic Satellite Goldfish.
Yeah, we still got to make up a song.
We do.
Intergalactic Satellite Goldfish.
That'll have to be maybe Christmas.
It could be a Christmas song about the intergalactic goldfish.
Yeah, intergalactic. You gotta have the satellite.
Yes, satellite goldfish.
Oh, this has been so much fun. It has.
Yeah, we always have loads of fun. And this is just, I'm going to be talking about vampires periodically throughout the years here. Or whatever, because you can go on for days and weeks and whatever.
Oh,
I
literally could have.
Of, even in like 13th century folklore, like talking about, digging people up, or if a horse wouldn't jump over a grave, then they dig the person up and hack their head off and burn the corpse and make sure that they ground the heart down.
Oh, dear Lord.
Or make people, like in the Mercy Vampires case, what they did was actually, after the exhumation, they actually burned her and made a soup out of her cremains and made the remaining family members eat it.
Oh,
cure
that's
them.
So awful. To cure them?
Yeah, to cure them.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's like, I know this lore and all this stuff goes back so many centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, as I understand it, wasn't there a real Van Helsing? He wasn't a monster hunter, but there was a real Van Helsing, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Way back then, he did hunt supposed vampires, didn't he?
He was an early cryptozoologist scientist dude that was very eccentric.
Mm-hmm. So, no, oh my gosh, I literally could have. And you know what? I got to thank you, because most people aren't that open to have those kind of questions asked. And you're really open about it. A lot of people can learn things. And again, I don't usually get on a soapbox, but I got to say this to everybody out there. You know what? Ask people politely if you can ask them something, rather than gossip or assuming or imagining, because look at how much we've all learned just from asking you today. That's not a bad thing. You don't eat dead babies, as you always joke about it, but only on Tuesdays.
Only ones that are alive.
No, you don't. No, I could have asked you for hours tonight, and I didn't even plan a question list because I'm utterly fascinated by this.
Well, I figured we'd go with the flow, and I wish that we had. Everybody's probably shagged out and tired from, and it's only the first leg. Think of how Daryl and Katie are. So get online, get in the chat room, start talking to people and stuff. Come on, people, get with the programming. Like I said, you don't have to listen to my show, but there are other shows to listen to, and we're going all the way through Sunday into the wee hours of Monday. So
and free chat room.
Yes, free chat room all weekend, and it is a killer chat room. It's an awesome chat room. It is a safe chat room. I mean, it's really awesome. I mean...
Oh, I really like the new chat room. I really do. I find it a lot easier to use.
Yeah, and Michael Vera and Katie and Daryl and other people behind the scenes have just done whatever they can, especially Katie and Daryl.
Yeah.
And no, we're not smooching your rear end, but you guys deserve props. And I know that
we do appreciate it.
Really isn't anybody else who can do the job like they do right now. And it's kind of hard, but you know what? They're my heroes right now.
Oh, I think everybody is too, especially, because especially as long as this is going, like I believe this is going till Monday morning straight.
Yeah, like I said, they're going straight through. And while I'm at it here, since we're getting into the end here, because we got to keep things on the flow, we want to mention our affiliates here. We've got High Point Radio, 1620 AM, 100.5 of New Jersey and broadcast in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. We've got WCET 101.7, Columbia, South Carolina, KOY 1230 in Phoenix, Arizona. We've also got YouTube, we've got TuneIn, Twitch, we've got Facebook, iTunes, Open Eyes Network, Neely Productions Incorporated, Neely Worldwide Publishing. We've got Paranormal Radio, KYAH of Utah, 540 AM, Daily Motion, TSL, Paranormal Radio, Amazon Alexa, Hot Los Angeles Mix 101, Tampa Bay Smooth Mix 86, the Gulf City Groove. Got to say that because I'm on the Gulf here. Come on, Tampa. Black Swan Radio, Digital Radio. So Roku, Atlanta Mix 108, and Baltimore City Mix 99. The beat of Baltimore. So we're streamed and restreamed all over the internet via lots of places. And we have to also mention My Patriot Supply, which is also helping out LNM here with, trusted self-reliance. They're, I guess, America's best emergency food. And from the way it looks, I want to order some of this stuff because it looks pretty good. Because right now, all I have is ramen and MREs. So if anything happens, it's going to be rough.
I'm actually I'm glad you said that, though. All you have is MREs, so then people don't have to think that those are just like MREs, right? Completely different.
Yeah, the Patriot Supply stuff is like some of the other, I'm not going to mention there are other places, but you buy food either by the pound or the box or the crate load, and it's different kinds of stuff that you can reconstitute either with water or you can eat it by the can. It's really neat, and I believe that you should remain upwardly mobile, and so don't buy tons and tons. But just in case, make sure you've at least got 2 weeks worth of food and water for just in case. Just in case, and definitely enough rounds to last you for 6 months.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
So,
we're going there tonight down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah, well, My Patriot Supply, I mean, that's a great place for preppers, since we do have a lot of people. We talk about a lot of subjects here on Late Night in the Midlands Network. Like I said, it's a great time to be part of Late Night in the Midlands. This is a busy time with Spookathon. I don't know if anybody caught it, but it's definitely in archives. But Ira had an awesome show this morning with his stories, and I did leave him a little note, but it was, I was sitting there listening, and it was really good. And not that I'm surprised or anything. I miss Ira.
I know, it was awesome. Oh, Rudy just a message in the chat, Sarah. I wasn't in there all night. I just went in there. He said, great show. Please let Sarah know as well. He said to both of us. Yeah.
Thank you.
The Duchess and the Angel Rocker. Or the Hot Mess.
The Hot MILF Mess.
Milfy Mess. Oh, this was fun, honey. Thank you so much for asking me to join you. I have an absolute ball with you all the time.
Oh, we all have fun. Like when Katie's not so tired, we have fun, and
yes,
we get all the ladies together, and when the guys join us too, it's still fun. And I know if Daryl and Katie weren't so tired, they'd probably jump in, but I know they're probably doing 80 bazillion other things besides.
And Clarissa Vasquez, she's out tonight. Otherwise, she probably would have joined in. So she's out investigating. So stay safe, sweetie. Travel safe.
Yes.
Thinking of you.
And Jennifer and Kevin as well, and Heidi Hollis and
all those. Everybody, but I knew she was traveling and she's going on an investigation tonight. So I thought, so anybody out there investigating or traveling?
Yes, just be careful. It's that time of year. Just watch out and make sure you've got lots of batteries for your flashlights and equipment, and got good shoes on, and have plenty of gas in your car.
Well rested, fluids.
Yes, lots of things. We're doing that momming thing. It's like, make sure you got all your stuff together.
Oh, wow. They're making quite the jokes in here. I'm seeing some of these jokes in here, Sarah, about vampires. I don't know if they're radio friendly, but they're quite the jokes in here.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So, Laura, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, quickly. I'm the host, Laura Lee Puffin of the Angel Rock in Studio B, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, though, we have a special show for not tonight, it's actually early Sunday morning, 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a special show of the Angel Rock. I'm going to have my hubby, Dell. He's been on the show with me before. We're also going to have very, very special co-host, Lorian Fenton. Seraphine may be dropping by. And I know I got a message from Mr. Chip Reichenthal. No promises, but he said if he happened to be up, he may pop by. So any of you, if you're up, stick around, pop in, or give us a call. Let us know. We're going all over the place tonight. We're going paranormal, probably UFOs, could be going all kinds of things. So
yeah,
I hope you guys join us. Anyways, thanks, Sarah, for having me as always.
Well, thanks for dropping in and hanging out with my surprise guest actually flaking out on me. So thank you for being dependable as always.
You know I love you.
I love you too, and I love you too, Katie and Daryl,
and Katie and Daryl too.
I feel so bad. So, but thank you for tuning in to Tripping the Void Inquisition, and thank you all for listening, hanging out, and putting up with me as normal as I come here. And you all have a great weekend, and please stay tuned for everything that happens here on the Spookathon. I know people have worked very hard, and they're about ready to start the next show. So everybody have a good show, and good night, and good luck. Love you.
Night. Love ya.
This has been Late Night in the Midlands, Tripping the Void with Seraphine Hurley. I know I enjoyed the trip. Until next time, Seraphine Hurley with Tripping the Void. Later.
Listen.